think normally you guys see, there it is, recording has
Yeah.
started.
Yep.
It's like, I know it has to say notice, so. Then I will look into future though, about like, cause I know one of the reasons, I know we're not, I was told when we first started doing these, I'm not sure if it changed, that we couldn't do in the boardroom. Cause I know the boardroom had a lot more tech back in the day than what my owl can do. But yeah, like I can see if we can find a way to post this video on our materials management plan along with our agenda and the minutes. I know Trista helps me post the minutes and agenda. I haven't posted videos, but if she can, or if we can't do it this way, I'll talk to Shannon. She's in charge of like a lot of that kind of like posting, and media type stuff. And we can do that in the future too. That way too, yeah, if you guys want to refer back to them, then we can do that. Yes, I will look into those options for everyone. I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, it's a good idea. There's gonna be a lot going on, a
Yeah.
lot of discussion, decisions being made that we might want to refer back to as a body, so.
Yeah.
I just turned on transcription, which is another feature, which it looks like it is capturing what we're saying, but we'll see what happens.
All right.
Can you see that on your end?
I
Maybe
don't
it's just-
see,
It's maybe just me. If you go to more and then language and speech, you can turn off and on live captions. I don't know if it'll record it on your end, but you try it.
we'll see. Even yeah, it says who's talking. Oh, probably it's my computer. That's why. I was like, wow. Right.
Okay, so then the next item is our meeting dates, our meeting schedule. So I think Kim, you did like a survey of everybody and it looks like we kind of landed on what we had been. So the fourth Wednesday at 10 a.m. I think you sent, I forget how many, you sent out a bunch of calendar invites, right? Did everybody
Yeah.
receive those
Should be to the end of the year.
to the
Yes.
end of the year? Okay, and that's a good, this time slot here is still good for everybody?
Yeah. I'm not sure if you noticed, so I think December was somewhere a different date.
For sure.
Cause I figured for Christmas, so, yeah, I think it's, and then November was just before the holiday.
Right, because Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Late this year.
Yeah, and I feel like last time that was fine. So I kept that one, but then December I moved to the 18th. I figured I'd do it now, that way it's in your calendar soon enough that it shouldn't interfere with anything, hopefully.
So September 25, I don't know if anybody else is on the Kent County Solid or Material Management Committee. But they have a training that they're doing the 22nd or 23rd, 24th and 25th. It's like an all day.
Oh, great. So I'm supposedly appointed to that and I have not
I didn't
received a
receive
single email or notice about it.
Yeah, I didn't receive it. So that was from the MRC.
Yeah, it's like that's an MRC.
It's
Training.
At Kent County.
Yeah.
Cycle, I can.
Yeah,
But
that's not part of the material.
it's not
No.
part of it. It's completely voluntary. If you want
Yeah.
to be, part of it, train. But
Yeah.
It is on September 25th, all day. So I don't know if anybody else, I think this committee is on Kent that would in there. But it's not specifically for Kent. It's for all materials management planning.
Yeah.
So if even somebody from Ottawa wanted to be in that training, you just know about materials management planning. It is on that day, so I don't know if it would be complex.
yeah. And I did ask Karen about that, and she was saying that, yeah. Cause I asked, like, is it advantageous for someone like me to take that training? And she says, no, since you know a lot of it already, it's mainly for those who, yeah, really need, that starter information. So, but yes, so we could move the 25th if that's something that a lot of you end up doing, if you just wanna let me know. And then I can send that meeting invite too for the group. But yes, I do know that, yeah, that they're hosting it.
It piques my interest.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Actions.
Yeah,
especially in the beginning, because it's a little wrapping your brain around.
yeah, it's
Indeed.
a very broad concept, so.
That's intense, like 3 days.
Yeah, it's 3 days, yeah.
Oh.
I would love for somebody to attend and it not be me.
Yeah.
Is it all possible? Cause I think I mean, I've read all of the legislation. I feel like I've got a pretty good handle.
Yeah,
I do have a conflict on the October date, so I just need to. That October's not a very good month for me, because I have a lot of conferences in October.
yeah, I can see that, so that's a big conference one.
Yeah,
So, and that's where too, it might be really good, since like, you know, if there's like one off where, yeah, I don't expect you guys to be at every single meeting, because that's, you know, things do come up. But that's where that recording might be very beneficial, so that,
100%. And I think I
Yeah.
can probably still attend remotely is my guess.
Mhm.
Just have visibility here.
yeah. Yeah, and then. I think it's hard to say what meetings right now are gonna be the most important to attend, but essentially just staying involved is probably a key thing right now.
I can definitely attend.
Yeah,
I'm not
Yeah.
Speaking of that.
yeah, so I mean, these are all helpful, because I can start seeing when we start getting low on numbers, we won't meet a quorum or something like that.
Yeah, so it sounds like, is there maybe a general consensus that people want to go to that training and we should reschedule our September meeting?
I plan
Yeah.
Yeah, so there are at least two.
3 days, big commitment.
Yeah. Well, and it's
I don't
not
have
cheap either.
No, it was, yeah, I know, a few hundred.
I know, like Tom. It's not like rough one.
Yeah.
Well, and it'd be nice.
He said he's already going, so I'm not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a lot of confidence in a couple of you to give me the clip notes.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll put that on the agenda for,
Well, and dinner is provided on day one, so does that mean like it actually goes into the evening, or it's just a nice thing you can stay for dinner, or?
I bet you, yeah, I bet it's like a networking
Yeah,
type event,
maybe
is
a
what I would imagine.
I like dinner for breakfast.
Yeah, for breakfast.
Yeah, my 4-year-old does too. He had tortellini for breakfast the other day. Didn't want to eat anything else, just like tortellini. There you go. Food.
Okay, I guess then Kim, do you want to send out some dates, or do we want to just everybody pull up calendar now and pick a date? It might be easy while most of us
Yeah.
are in the room.
Whatever you guys would like to do.
You said the dates were the 24th, 25th, and 26th for the MRC event.
23rd.
23rd.
25th. So, because our next meeting would be the 25th.
I'm technically available on the 26th at that time.
That's okay.
Yeah, I could do the 26th.
I could do the 26th.
Good, then you guys can give us a great update.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's actually a good report.
Yeah,
26th,
so Thursday, the 26th.
I gotta, I'm on Iona's board.
Iona's board. Okay.
What?
So, this sounds like very elementary, but can you raise your hand if the 26th works for you?
At the same time, 10 o'clock?
Yeah. All right. Would it help you morning or afternoon different, or just all day?
Well, I mean, I could do it the afternoon
Afternoon,
on the 26th.
so afternoon, you said it worked better for you, it was afternoon, so what define afternoon?
Anytime after 12 o'clock.
One,
So, just 2 work for people? Gives a little window,
Yeah.
everyone raise your hand if 2 o'clock?
Later is even better.
Yeah,
For-
3.
for, Like I have a job, right?
Yeah.
People have other jobs,
Yeah.
but this.
This is my job.
This kind of room is the whole morning, not room,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
as far as being able to get to the office and.
Oh,
meet with
I-
folks, like
yeah.
can- So either first thing in the morning or last thing in the day.
Okay,
Is best for a schedule like mine. I don't know.
Okay.
Like 30.
so 3,
Yeah,
okay.
that'd be great.
I think it's my meeting that I have that afternoon.
3 o'clock for me.
3 p.m.
3 p.m.? All in favor?
Yeah.
All right,
Okay.
click Williams.
You'll send a new calendar invite then? Yeah.
No,
Okay, perfect.
that way I don't do that.
Is that something that we could carry going forward for all of our meetings?
That would be for you to decide,
Yeah.
or if you want to move or, yeah.
On a Thursday?
Not necessarily that, but just as the time of day.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I have a standing meeting on the fourth Thursday of every month that I will have to cancel. So it's in September. So.
Yeah, from a work day schedule.
So let's say we keep this day. Would it be better 9 o'clock? I can see, I've never, I come here between 8:30 and 9. So I'm no one in here, so I'm guessing that part was fine, but is it, cause I know everyone drives from different areas and different places. Alright. So,
I would agree earlier, the better for me.
Nine, yeah.
And time works.
alright, everyone raise your hand, 9 works, I will move all of them to 9. Alright. Alright, we'll do that. I'll move them all to 9, and then on Thursday, the 26th, that one will be at 3 o'clock. Alright, I'll work on those. I'm only gonna do the Thursday one for now, and then I'll fix the rest. Cause I also have to go into the county's calendar site and stuff, and do all that. And I'll double check. Locations might be different for the 26th one. So I have to check the counting wide database, so. Right. Updates will come.
Any other comments, questions on meeting schedules? Good there. And we're up to discussion items. So general overview of part 115. Kim, do you have like a presentation or something we're gonna do, or just?
No, I was just gonna talk it through,
Okay.
and then. I might do a presentation once more, like the Eagle has some more things set in stone,
Hmm,
so that's kind of, so let me.
Maybe the, send out. University guide.
Yeah, so essentially, so just an overview, I just wanna make sure everyone knows essentially where the references are. I've attached and linked to part 115. I don't wanna be, a lot of us know what, is going on with part 115, but not everyone does. I just wanted to do just a general brief, like here's the gist. So the focus is no longer on solid waste. So essentially historically it was like, all right, let's make sure our landfills have capacity, that we're getting rid of hazardous waste. Those were our key things. Do we have enough of them? Now the focus is, okay, Michigan is pretty rich in landfills. But how do we keep the existing landfills going? As well as taking materials that historically have been landfilled or improperly managed or could be done better, and focusing on those instead. So, a lot of that has now included composting, which historically has not been seen as like, let's say, a recycled material. So having those done, and then also how do we do what we do now better? So in the case of I call it household or residential recycling. That's the recycling that everyone knows what recycling is, your glass, paper, and cardboard. But there's also doing those better, as well as, now let's look at our electronic recycling, our scrap metal recycling, even though there's like a scrap metal law, but still it's a material that we can start collecting better and doing better. So, and then essentially, I've already had this kind of forethought this coming, so we changed our program name from the waste program to the environmental sustainability program, because essentially it's how do we help our residents think more sustainable? So let's get these materials managed, and not necessarily the county doing all of it. It's working with a lot of you guys, the haulers, the businesses, the community members that really make this all go, actually become more sustainable in the fact that we're managing our materials. That is my version of part 115, 101. There's a lot of, you need this, you need to do this. There's funding involved now and all that kind of stuff. There's the Hooch Giant plan. Historically was using Giant. I don't know what it'll look like in the future, nor does Eagle. But that is just the briefest overview. I did link part 115 of the law. If you want to take a great dive into it, you can. Eagle's webpage, I think I sent out an initial one for everyone that has, I didn't, let me know when I can do it again or finish what I was thinking about doing. The materials management, they have a quick guide that's really helpful. They also have they have a lot of resources. My favorite one is the quick guide. And they have a planning guide. Those two are probably their best, I think they have out there. And either way, I'll send that I tend to send emails out after this too, kind of for anyone that misses them, as well as, again, so you can have the links to things that were mentioned. So I can include that too and all that.
Is everyone present that's on the committee today?
Yeah, we're all here. Yeah. So that was just my quick overview, and if any of you guys have any quick questions about what's known about part 115,
When is our first deliverable due?
December 29th. And that's the work plan. And I was gonna,
And what is the work plan? Does that just outline what we plan on working on?
I guess I'll kind of go into the next part too, a little bit with that. So the work plan, in the most glorified way to say it, is a budget with active dates on it. That's the best way to think of it. It's a glorified budget for what you plan to do for materials management plan, and then when your execution dates for those. The state does not have anything yet. So that's where it's tricky.
But I had Allegheny County yesterday, they had a spreadsheet that they're gonna fill out for their work plan.
So they have that. There is a spreadsheet. But there's no guidance document. So I'm part of, so for those who don't know, I'm part of Eagle's work group. They have a small subgroup of DPAs and Eagle members to discuss like, well, how do you do this? It's essentially to bring up the questions so that they can kind of catch them beforehand. And so essentially, this is the problem Eagle has right now. If you create a work plan, and this is something I've been talking about, you need to know how much money you're gonna spend. So if there's no grants, no grant terms, it's really hard to make a work plan. That was my biggest thing, is I don't know how much of my funding for my entire program now for the next 3 years, it's gonna be Eagle funded. And they're like, well, in the law, it states you get this, this, and this. But the questions come down to, the law also states that they will post-date funding. So technically, let's say I wanted to have lunch at this meeting and reimburse mileage at this meeting, or if you guys really wanted that type of stuff, I can't pay for that right now. But they say in the law that you can. But you don't have any grant terms yet. So like, as a county fiscal, won't budget anything until I have an executed grant agreement, because then they know it's real. So explaining that to the state, which also has similar terms, so you don't have your grant terms. And then they said, you can't really do grant terms without having a plan outline. Which they're having internal conflicts on so essentially I'm going into some of the next parts too, guys.
That's good.
So, because it all adds to your question. So there's no approved MMP draft outline, which they said you don't have to use, but at the same time, most people will get what the state wants from that. There's no grant agreement yet. So you can't do a work plan, truly. And the state wants you to keep moving forward towards your December deadline that you've established. So, as well as Eagles has their own battles right now. They are trying to add coal ash. There's apparently a federal legislation regarding coal ash landfills. And they're trying to add that to this, so there's a possible already amendment to the update of the plan to include coal ash, which that would then go through everything. So even the materials management subsection 11, which is what we are, would be affected by that. So I looked it over, the MRC, is part of a group which they sent the proposed amendment to. And I can see where it might, but I'm not, it's a lot of legal language, so you have to really dive and really think about it. As well as they're posing some simple, like composting was new to part 115. So there's some, I guess, some things they want to change in that too, because so it would exclude certain things. So that's another like caveat too, is that there's already possibly an amendment to an update that's not finished. But yet they're keeping the deadlines going. So,
Okay, so I just
Yeah.
have some,
yeah,
I tried to
Yeah.
not get lost in these on this, which
Yeah,
is not
yeah.
easy, I realize.
Yeah.
But are there any assumptions for, well, my first question, is there any county in the state that has a work plan developed yet? That we know of?
no. And I asked that from Eagle too, like, what about the materials management plan? Because it refers to an old work plan document of like, here's how to do it.
Yeah, I mean, it would
But
just
there was no,
be great to be able to.
Yeah.
Borrow from one that successfully passed through the process, but that's okay. I just
Yeah.
have that.
Alec and their plan is, they formed a subcommittee last night to fill out that spreadsheet.
Mhm,
I backed away because it's so generic.
Mhm.
Put on there.
mhm.
And then they plan to have it ready by, because they already just office us in November to have the board of commissioners pass it and submit it.
Yeah, and these states are gonna have to change, like if they're this far behind, there's none of the material management committees across the state are gonna meet that deadline, so I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
But can we at least, can we make some assumptions? Like, I know we're not gonna know
Yeah.
enough information to get something passed all the way through the process,
Yep.
but can we come within $1 million of what the budget is?
Yeah.
Like, it's
so,
kind of close.
so this is what I'm proposing. Let me make sure first, let's kind of gather, yeah, so. What my plan is, because they do want you to still move forward, because obviously the moment you stop, then you're gonna be late. You're gonna be so far behind. And I did ask, I asked them like, how realistic are you on the December 29th deadline? And they're like, we're not gonna come after you. I'm like, I didn't think so, but I want you to say it. I want the state to say that we're not gonna strictly enforce it, but she wouldn't say it. She was very strategic on that, but they're not gonna come for us. But so what my proposal is, my thought are, what do we need to be able to make a good work plan? Cause there's two ways you can view it. Do you just do a work plan just to do it and say you have it? Or do you do it so that you can actually use that as a foundation to your next steps for the actual plan? So my thoughts are, some of the activities that I was thinking that we should do ahead, and I want to discuss it with you, and your thoughts are, I wanted to gather some basic data from municipalities, because, so how we're gonna fund all the program going for the first 3 years isn't gonna be solely fall on the grant. It'll help cover most of those costs, but another thing to understand too is that my program also funds, six sites that collect hazardous waste, recycling, all that too. And so some of the grant might take off some of those funds, so it's a big budget, not a big budget, but it's two parts to the budget. The materials management plan and then the sustainability centers programs. So, and one affects the other, so the centers budget's already submitted, those are consistent, but some of the grant will then take off some of the funding, like say some of my stuff. Or what we want to do in the plan may increase the centers, like say we want to add a sixth site with the grant that we have just sitting right now holding. So that kind of stuff. So first, my thoughts are, let's gather what we currently have. So we'll do all municipalities have. Like I know, City of Holland has an extensive program. I know I started talking to Spring Lake Village and Township. They've started doing hauler. One is hauler licensing and then the other one has a single hauler. Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, go ahead.
A lot of it, I'm trying to.
Yeah,
process
there's a
all of
lot,
this.
yeah.
This work plan, do we know what elements do we need? And I'm just, and like,
That's what
can
they
you
don't.
use that whiteboard and just kind of, cause you're mentioning a lot of things.
Yeah,
And how do we, can we just start to write some of that out so we can
Yeah.
digest it
everyone does things differently. So yeah, so if you want me to write things down,
somehow? I just,
yeah,
what is this? work
yeah,
Like you got some.
Show the ink.
Yeah, yeah.
Spreadsheet.
I was thinking they won't be able to see.
Components need to look at high
Yeah.
level.
That's what I'm
and
trying
then
to, yeah,
Slowly break that.
Yeah.
down. I can't visualize it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how to.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how you build a budget for something when we really don't know.
yeah,
what We're
Yes,
trying to.
Well, I,
accomplish and what
Yeah.
steps- Yeah.
yeah, so what areas are there? You're talking at centers,
Yeah.
you're talking at mapping, so is it
Yeah.
data collection? And what is
Yeah.
that, it's like spatial mapping and what components of that is it? The regulatory component,
Yeah.
so what are these parts of this work plan?
all right, so this is what my thoughts are. I'll break it down very simple and then we can go from there. Maybe that's where I'm really bad at just diving into the weeds. So,
You've been-
yeah,
You're bringing it up.
yeah.
Living in the weeds. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I do all day, plus I have, and then I get to like my site weeds, which are very confusing too, work plan,
Kim,
yeah,
item 3 on this item is an RFP for consultant.
yeah, I'll put that on here, so,
Is that?
yeah, so first thing I think you need to, my opinion, this is why I'm coming to you, as a DPA, I think you need to know what's existing. What is existing,
And that encompasses,
municipality information,
Excuse me, Kim,
so, yeah, I know you can't probably see,
anything you write down on the board, we can't see it,
Yeah.
but, if somebody can keep notes so we know what is being discussed.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
why.
We'll take a picture of it.
Yeah, we'll take a picture as well as I have my clerical staff here taking amazing minute notes, even though this is her first time doing it for me. So
Okay,
I have faith in her.
Take a picture and put it in the notes.
Yeah, yeah,
someone else.
but yes, I will take a picture. Plus,
thank you.
yeah, plus you're on the,
Yeah.
you'll probably see this because some of the stuff will have to go through, the board. So what's existing is municipality information on this.
When you say municipality information,
Yeah.
then defining that a little bit.
Yeah. So my
Even,
thought,
even what is existing.
yeah. Yeah.
Do we mean services? Like what services are available?
So I asked,
Sites,
Yeah.
services?
yeah, exactly. So what my thoughts are is that I have no clue what any municipality knows, has, or anything. So my thoughts were on this is to borrow, so I have no funding. Borrow some of my on-site interns and have them cold call municipalities. And say, so for example, if they were to call Dan, the city, or even Polkton, like, do you have anything regarding materials management? And what that would be is haulers, composters. Do you have any ordinances? Do you have any haulers? What do you have? So that's the first step, because if we create anything, we don't wanna rule out, we don't wanna cancel anything, or do we have, and we're gonna go talk to them.
I don't mean that that's
Yeah.
a bad idea, but to me, that is a task that would happen after the work plan is formed. Like that would be a function of what the work plan would execute.
So you think that's what, so I was thinking, the only reason why I came up on this idea is, so funding structure for this program. If I go out and say we need, so two things I think we might need is an ordinance regarding haulers, so we can get data, so we can meet some of the Part 115 things, as well as possibly an ordinance for funding the program, or a host agreement. Those are the two ways to fund this program, is either an ordinance or a host agreement. Both of those, we don't want to create ordinances for either of those two. We don't want to ruin what's already existing, or do we ask municipalities to do it and municipalities to help us get that data? So that's why I want to know what they currently have, or what I think we need to know, so that we don't ruin an existing infrastructure or make more work on an infrastructure that's already existing.
That's right, that leads to my question.
Yeah.
What is the work plan? This seems. This is a process.
It is.
It's fairly laborious. You're gonna have
It
a
is.
lot of follow-up, end of the year's
Mhm.
quick. Part of work plan can be collect data,
Yeah.
analyze data,
Hmm.
identify opportunities. Like,
Yeah.
Is that the work plan and?
Yeah.
And then we're gonna develop something later, so I'm just
Yeah.
trying to lay that out. Do we
Yeah.
wanna, because if we're asking questions.
I don't think we can collect all that data by the end of the year.
No,
maybe.
exactly, so that.
So
should
I'm
be
thinking
written
broad
part of the
data.
work plan.
Yeah, actually, I've already started doing some of it. It's overall fairly easy. Like I talked to Spring Lake and I said, Spring Lake, I heard you have something. Do you have an ordinance? Yeah, we do. Can you send it to me? Yeah.
But the work
Yeah.
plan is to how. are
The
you
work
going
plan
to
part would
pay
be-
To get the information that you want. You don't have to get the information.
Yeah. No,
Say, one of our things in the
Yeah.
work plan is to say, all right, I need to fund an intern to get all of this information.
Yeah.
That's an argument.
yeah,
That is
Yeah.
making sense, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, and
but yeah. So essentially what I do is I want to get a base level of data and essentially like, see, we have all these ordinances in there. We really need to dive into what each municipality has. I'm just thinking broad level. I guess that's, yeah,
yeah,
I'm
it's the-
thinking, yeah,
There's a 50,000 foot level. What are municipalities doing? We need their with.
Yeah.
materials.
yes, and
Yeah.
so that information,
Yeah.
and I'm not
Yeah.
trying to micromanage.
Oh,
you, I
no,
respect
yeah.
The staffing and everything that
Yeah.
you do, but it could be helpful
yeah,
to maybe see what's that checklist of things you want to obtain from municipalities? And maybe workshop it with this group so that we're all, like,
Mhm.
okay, so we're being as efficient as possible collecting the information.
yeah, yeah.
Those are like little things that maybe if you could. help.
Well, that boils to the other thing that, Donovan, brought up is I have an RFP I'm working on. P for consultant. So. This boils down to the plan and that will also help. So consultants within this will help. I've requested 3 levels. And, I'm hoping to get it out sooner than later. So the first level is an on-call base level. So, because part of it is how much work internally can we do and how much externally can we do? External would be the consultant. So I have like a per hourly rate essentially. So whenever ad lib, so whenever we need you, we have you come in. Just so I get these levels and we can all then discuss what we want. The second level is essentially based on, they would sit with us every time. They're an active member of making the plan. And the last one is here, you write the plan. Tell us what you want from us to do and we'll do it and get it. I'm not a fan of that one, but at the same time, that would give us a pricing idea of how much someone else for it to do versus how much should we, so if all of a sudden we're charging to do it internally, the cost for us to do that, let's say it's just out the roof versus them doing it, it's way lower, then we can kind of play with that. It's comparable. I would think A or B would be what would work for us the best, but again, we need to know how much the cost of a consultant is to put into the work plan.
Scope of work. They all had on first.
Yeah, I'm working on some work
Yep.
for that. And so,
Well. Okay,
and
not necessarily opposed to having a consultant, but as far as I understand it, there's really only one consulting firm in the state that would qualify to do it. That would be RRS. So how is there a request, like, it's not really a competitive bid process, who else would possibly?
There is one.
There is,
Fishback.
It's Matt Biolab.
oh, Fishback, okay.
Yeah.
No, and there's-
There's actually quite a few that think.
Okay,
yeah.
so maybe there's been more than a pot.
Yeah.
There are-
Fantastic.
Yeah, so, and that was, so one of the things that we were talking about in the work plan is, one of the things that we had on there is have historical, you know, like you've worked on the solid waste material plan, which I think that could also limit, but at the same time is a good thing to have on there. So, but make sure that it's not, I remember we were talking about the wording on that, so essentially, you get more points if you've done the solid waste management plan historically, yeah,
I'm
it's
not
not,
worried about that, but.
yeah, but
You've already
either way.
named 3, so I'm happy there's 3.
Yeah, yeah. I can tell you, I've had numerous consultants reach out to me since I'm on the DPA list. They're coming out of the weeds. There's places from other states even.
Yeah, they've been hiring-
Yeah.
A couple of them have been hiring people like from Kent County and stuff to put them there.
Yeah,
They can beef up their consulting and
Yeah.
create a part 115 arm.
yeah, and apparently there's similar items in different states, so they think, so. One of the things that we hope is to have local involvement, so one of the things that we thought higher on there is if you have an understanding of Ottawa County and surrounding areas. Because, you know, our thoughts are the plan should be focused on what Ottawa County wants, not, you know.
Does the
Just like-
spreadsheet just create the scope? Is that all that is?
So that's just, the thing is, the state has no guidance filling out that sheet, and that's what I had asked for, like, what's the guidance? And then they were saying, well. And then apparently it turned into a huge thing. So another problem Eagle has is that the recycling people. They are in charge of certain parts. The planning people are part of certain plants, and then they have their admin staff. Which it sounds like it's conflicting, certain things, and that's where the plan is sitting, is up there, and they have disagreements with it. The recycling team is part of certain things, and so there's like there's power issues essentially. If we think we should do this, you should, yeah. So, and plus they're trying to combine them together, so that there's those, yeah.
Do we want to put together a small subcommittee to take a stab at a 50,000 foot plan and bring it back to this group?
What my hopes are, and you guys can tell me what you think too, my hope is to make a 3-year budget, essentially think 3-year budget, what should we spend? And if it ends up, let's say it ends up being $10,000, or I'm just using $10,000. All right, the grant covers all of that, all right, life is easy. But then it gives us the next level too, what happens if it's a $10 million project and we only get, you know, $1 million from the grant? Which is not, but essentially, well, how are we gonna pay for the $9 million that we, this group, think that Ottawa County
Well,
wants? So that's part of what. we
As
have.
much as I want to do all things circular and sustainable,
Mhm.
it's my job. I think we have to have a plan to do the minimal viable product first. Like,
Walk before you run.
yeah, I mean, I just,
Mhm.
this is a big change. We're changing. It's a big change, like,
Yeah,
you can add more
Yeah.
in later, but.
so the problem is, if you think, so for the most part, I think if anything, there'd be a small difference, and the biggest part is. After this, you only get $60,000. To continue your materials management plan, to make sure it goes on. So
A year?
a year. So for the first 3 years to create the plan, you get $60,000 plus 50 cents per capita. And that's going on, they did finally confirm this for me, the 2020 census. So I think, Spencer, do you remember, it was like $260,000. I think is what it ends up being around for Ottawa County. So just under 300,000, we'll just say that, it's just under $300,000 for the first 3 years. So I presented this to the
A
board
year or for the entire,
First 3 years.
for the first 3, so each year,
each year?
yes. I did clarify that with the state and they said that. But again, they could change it because you don't have a grant term, that's the problem. So,
$60,000 after.
and then 60,000.
And the 50 cents per capita is coming from what?
The law.
Got it. But the funding is got to
Oh,
be coming.
That's
something.
from, so they already approved funding. That is part, what does the state call it? There's a fund. I do not have the fund name, but essentially all the infrastructure grants, like the one, that's where it's all coming from.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a special fund for materials management. So, yes, the state will give that. The rest of it, so to fund the sites, to fund me currently. And my current staffing is from our host agreements. Currently,
And your host agreements are with the landlords.
yes,
So plan.
yeah, the host agreements we have with Republic and Waste Management. So. That's why it's kind of complicated in the fact that. There's two parts to the funding. There's the current program and then there's the additional work.
Well, I'm not trying to oversimplify it, but I feel like we're nowhere near ready to get into the budgeting of this and that's spinning us into some detail that we can't possibly answer. So there still needs to be a high level, like a work. And maybe I don't understand I guess I want to make sure I have the right definition of work plan. But to me, a work plan, like if I was doing any type of big project, it would be the key milestones. These are the milestones. These are the requirements, and this is the milestones for those requirements. And these are the dates I plan to hit those. And if we know, I mean, it feels fairly certain we're at least getting 60,000 per year, we ought to be able to work even within that as a parameter to do those types of milestones. I mean, that's not gonna execute centers and staffing and all of that, but you can still have a milestone to say that you're gonna determine what those are. At this stage, you're going to develop those things. At this stage, you're gonna collect this data and write this section. Like, you don't,
That's what they're looking for.
it's, I mean, they can't expect any more than that high level with what they've given. Nobody's gonna be able to produce that.
I think your 50,000 foot plan really makes a lot of sense because there seems to be so much liability for the left hand to not know what the right hand is doing.
Yeah.
And we've got to get people focused on where we're all rowing to.
Or
I
you
know
know,
how
what
to
are
get
we
there.
doing now?
Right. There's a lot of moving parts here.
Yeah, so that's why, so some of my thought process was. The municipalities know nothing. So, and they're gonna be heavily involved. So essentially by collecting data and talking to them, just in general, is something that we can do now, so that when we need them. So part of it is, what can I do now? I don't have the work plan outlined exactly. And I don't have guidance from the state, so like the left, right, I'm like, yeah, so that's. So essentially, what can I do now? With no money. And, with what little I know, and so I'm trying to show you, which
Yeah, but
is to show you what the state has given. But I have to share screen so that those can,
Well, and do you even have a sense of the timing on when a grant agreement and when the funding will come through? Like, when does the work plan start?
so. That's where it's interesting, so I talked to Emily with the state, she's oversees the grant part. And she had told me that you cannot get the grant agreement until you've submitted a work plan. But then I just recently met with the subgroup, and then the subgroup said, you can't create a work plan without a grant, without a draft work plan. So this, yeah, which was my initial argument with Emily was, how can I do a work plan if I have no clue funding at all? Like, so I can't even say, okay, here's my budget, just plain simple,
Sounds
here's,
to me
yeah,
that you guys are defining work plan differently.
yeah. So that's why I thought maybe that I will pull this up.
So that's what I'm thinking. Just do, like I said, a 50,000 foot view of saying, okay, to your point, what is data collection? Data, we're gonna collect data from the municipalities and
Yeah,
what we're doing now, not necessarily where we're going, just collect the data. Okay, that's one. The next piece down is, okay,
RFP over.
so
That's
yeah,
RFP out for consultants, just to get it there.
that's what I did, yeah,
And then,
Right.
yeah,
yeah,
Right.
just, I think it's like 10 basic bullet points for our plan, and that's it.
Well, and that's how,
We go from there.
yeah, and that's how
Yeah.
I approach work plans is like, what are the main categories? And then you
Mhm.
can outline whatever tasks underneath those. And then once you have that set, then you go back and put a budget to it.
Mhm.
Data collection.
Yeah, it's not like it's
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
high level milestone document.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so under data collection, here's the action items
Yeah.
we're gonna take. We're gonna have it done by this date.
Yep.
And then we'll figure out later how much it's gonna cost us to do that.
Right, and I think we can do something like that.
Yeah, we can,
That's
can-
But if we wanna put a task in there that we're gonna develop a template to collect data or something, I mean.
And I think to Carrie's point, we do at the minimum, like as
Mhm.
simple as possible,
Yeah.
but we don't know what the requirements are, so that's part of the problem too.
Yeah,
Right.
Is it, I mean, we want data collection. The state may have a specific data that they want collected that.
If they
We don't
take it
have
back,
a
Then we'll finally know what they want.
Yeah.
That's why, maybe we're the ones that need to like say,
Yeah.
here it is, we kick it to them, they're like, oh, that's cool, we'll have everybody else do what you did.
Mhm.
You know?
yeah,
Yeah, because
Yeah.
it's, because there's all kinds of plans that Eagle requires, but they give you guidelines. So I don't know how they
Yeah.
expect you to do
yeah,
like a work plan without guidelines.
yeah,
Like what
No.
elements are included in the plan?
yeah,
That's a basic thing that should have been provided already.
yeah. No, I agree. So essentially my plan is what can I do now? That's what I've been approaching it, is what can I do now? I can talk to municipalities. I can talk, I can get an
I've looked at
RFP.
this before. Have you shared this document with us?
I believe I did. This is on Eagle's website.
I wouldn't
Um,
even talk to municipalities at this. I just
Yeah.
put together a framework. And
yeah,
say,
essentially,
this is
yeah,
state, this is what I want to do, and this is how much it's gonna cost you to do it.
yeah. Essentially, it was an easy thing to do. That's why I put it on, and I have two interns that could probably do it, because they're looking for
That
somewhere
makes sense.
on site,
You can get
so.
ahead of the game. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's what it is. Eventually I need to know it.
Yeah.
And so, and also. I'm gonna, when we go further, like what, and that's where it says, it doesn't say what kind of activities, it's just. MMP development implementation. That's what they put, so. This is, I'm guessing,
Yeah,
the worksheet,
Yeah, what
elegant,
Elegant's thought is to fill that out. And then their thought is, once that's filled out, then they can get the money. So then they can put RFP out to there, so they
yeah.
put the whole plan.
Yeah, see, and I made the RFP, I wrote it so that they're the ones that have to come up with the numbers completely. So then I can see that, so that we can then, cause I do know that there's other counties already having RFPs out. Because consultants have told me, so. And then I think, Yeah. yeah, well, I think purchasing can find them if they're through certain things. Yeah, but the problem is purchasing doesn't do this, so they don't know exactly like how to look for it or what the wordings were. And he just did a quick glance. But it would be interesting to see. And I know I've been talking to, and I have done it recently, Steve and Heather from Kent and Allegan. Try to, so that we can all stay connected since we're all related. We're doing similar type things. So Kent County is a different ballgame though. They're ahead in certain things and yet I think their concept with the work plan is this means nothing essentially, and they're just gonna fill something out and submit it and call it good. So, essentially, what it boils down to is if you guys want, we can start working on this. We can wait and see what Eagle says. So essentially, yeah, boils down to what we think we should do. We want to do a subcommittee and try to tackle what we can do that.
I like the idea too, if maybe you put together, talk about the high level points
Yeah,
of what we think would make an effective planning to plan, right?
I think
Yeah.
Carrie mentioned, what are the milestones? What are we trying, what are we working towards?
We need to collect that.
We may not know those milestones
Yeah.
until we submit something and then they come back and say, hey, we wanted this in there. And
Right.
So I think
Yeah.
the sooner we get something in, and get some feedback, better, more helpful.
yeah. So that's kind of what I was trying to get at with some municipalities at high level. I don't know what Ottawa County wants. So that was part of my thing is I don't know what should be in the plan. What do you want? That was part of my
Then we-
thought.
You know, the people
Yeah.
get it.
So again, maybe we have
Yeah.
a couple of us dig into this a little bit and just come up with a basic bullet point plan.
Well, yeah, because if
Maybe
the
that's- yeah.
state's not gonna provide that template, I mean, there's plenty of other types of plans we can look
Mhm.
at to find, like, here's standard plan elements, like,
Mhm.
you need to have background information, so you need that data.
Yeah,
You need to have community information, you need to have, I mean, there's gonna be some kind of public participation process, so that's gotta be described, a public education plan.
yeah,
And then how are you gonna prioritize actions that we wanna take, like,
mhm,
I'll just
That's
throw
part
this
of
out
planning.
There is, there's things that ChatGPT is not good for, and there's things that it is good for. But you could
Yeah.
take the entire Part 115 and pump that in there. You can take the entire current solid waste plan,
oh, yeah,
pump that in there, and you can ask for it to develop a materials milestone, and it will do it. And it'll be pretty good. I mean, it'll at least give you, it'll give you
Yeah.
a start. It
That's
doesn't
what
mean
I've,
you don't
yeah, I've
bring
used
your
it
brain
for.
on it, But it'd give us a high level list and without taking
Yeah,
hours and weeks to do it.
Looking at the act itself, if I'm reading this right,
Mhm.
it specifically references the things to collect, speak to local ordinances,
mhm,
transportation infrastructure, population density, materials management, facilities inventory. Yeah, those are all the things that you need to,
mhm.
so just starting to list those out.
Yeah, data collection and at some points.
Yeah, because there are a lot of that stuff.
Try that. Do it, see what comes out.
Yeah,
Takes no time to do it. Hour.
yeah,
I use it shamelessly. Doesn't mean you don't have to rewrite things, use your brain, but. Great for writer's block.
yeah, actually, I use chat, I always forget the letters, chat PT or
GPT.
GPT, okay, I did have it. To make the RFP to start with, and purchasing was like, this is one of the best work, scope of works that we've seen, because yeah, like you said, it's a good starting point, and then you can start moving, what you need, and. Yeah, so yeah, I can, see
Why
what,
don't you put good data in?
yeah. That's what, yeah, I know, too.
Garbage in, garbage out, so.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing, and make sure I'm right, so you guys would like me to, for me to at least put it through QBT, whatever, never, I can never say it in my mouth. But yeah, maybe get some.
G, P. It's not that complicated.
I know, it's not, but apparently my mouth thinks it. But yeah, I'm even reading it too. Chat GPT, to get some high level points and maybe have it generate a general, maybe, and then. I wonder if I can put both of them and then put part 115. Yeah,
And I
I haven't
have the
got that
paid
level.
version of it, so if you run into problems, because you're
Yeah.
gonna be trying to put a lot of information in there.
I think Spencer's got us the paid version too.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I don't mind if you want some.
Yeah.
Just to sit down and go.
Yeah, and then I would suggest, the committee possibly, if I could have like a few of you that I can send it to, and if, not sure if you want to make it official or if someone just wants to volunteer to review it, kind of get the idea for those high level points. Is there anything else you want, high level point, maybe see what it generates for, a work plan? Is that,
Volunteer to go over it, review it.
Okay.
A very simple person. I like simple things, so.
Yeah.
I'm pretty good at that. We get into the weeds, I'll play back out.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, is there anyone else that would like to review what I put together before I come to the September meeting?
My guess is that you're gonna end up with different subsections, and there's gonna be, I haven't read anything yet.
Yeah.
Based on what you were saying with the logistics, there's gonna be a subsection in that. You want the haulers to review that subsection.
Mhm.
If there's gonna be something that where you're asking for information municipalities, Dan should be reviewing that subsection. So I think until you see the results, it's gonna be hard to
All right.
know, but I think we all should be prepared if there's a subsection that's relevant to our expertise or subject matter expertise. we should review those sections.
Yep.
And see if there's anything missing or if we add.
Sense.
Yeah.
It just makes sense. Now, a project like the JH Campbell plant that may be coming down the pipe,
Mhm.
are they gonna be asking us to support them in any way, shape or form, consumers? With the hauling away or managing the material, the fly ash? I mean, is that something that is a big project that we need to be aware of or budgeting for?
Yeah, so that is a type 2 landfill, which falls under coal ash. So I don't know exactly what the new federal regulations would entail with that going forward and what the new updates necessarily means to them. As I'm not in that kind of field, but I know historically they came to us because they did a vertical expansion. Even though they knew that they were, the plant was going away, they still have requirements and they still had ash that they needed a vertical. And,
What does that mean?
so they went up. So there's up and out essentially.
Okay,
So
so that you're talking about building their plant taller.
they're coal ash.
Oh, the landfill.
So there's usually two parts to that.
Okay.
There's the energy making, and then there's the after effects, which is the coal ash. So they went up. And they, from what I think, that's Port Sheldon Township that falls under. And when we did that discussion, that she said they managed it really well and all that. So they were really good and supportive of that, and I guess they really support Port Sheldon a lot. But they have to have, and this is where the landfill people could talk more, they have to have plans for after it for, I think, 30 years. They still, from my understanding, follow the
Like
general landfill, yeah, post-closure type items. So, and pretty sure the state they have to keep those permits active while they're doing post-closure. I know they're monitoring well for all that stuff. I know that plant's a type 2 well for drinking water.
So there's some
So,
public meetings coming up on.
Yeah.
That facility.
Yeah, whether they
My
want,
question is,
yeah,
do we have
yeah.
anything that we need to budget for this committee to help assist that process? Is that something, does that fall under us at all?
So. So anything that they'd want from us now, for the next 3 years, would fall under the solid waste management plan. And with that, I believe the language says that we have, like, so if they needed something from us, we could ask them to pay for it. To cover it, which historically has been disclosed in public notices, so I've covered that cost.
Yeah.
But if it ends up being more from us, or if we need to do,
Put that
Yeah.
burden back on.
yeah, but I don't think we would have to be heavily involved in that.
I wouldn't think.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so, yeah. Unless they need some sort of change to their land, their type 2.
I have one question. I want to make sure I'm thinking about this correctly. So. And the reason why we switched from a solid waste plan to a material management plan was ideally to increase using the highest and best use of all resources. We'll just call it like that. Hazardous waste, though, is still hazardous waste. Like things that are truly solid waste are still gonna be solid waste. We're not really rewriting those portions, right? We're gonna like take those sections more or less, maybe slightly adapted and just plug them in, aren't we? From the solid waste, the materials management, most likely.
We could, so from my understanding, and this is something that my HHW group and I talk about is, part 115 currently doesn't, and then Eagles talks and conversations is almost like they've forgotten the HHW part of it, or the hazardous waste portion. Cause there's the hazardous waste law part, but then
We
household,
still have to comply with
Yeah.
state and
Yeah.
federal
So-
regulation.
and that's where it gets kind of complicated. The only part when it comes to truly hazardous waste, part of, I think, part 115 is the household hazardous waste part. That falls under part 115. Not, I can't remember, they're updating
So
the
maybe-
hazardous waste law right now.
Well, we'll leave that
Yeah.
for the attorneys, I guess.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah,
we just reference that, we'll follow all that.
yeah, but yeah, well, that's where, when we start really writing it, that's where, if we want to elaborate a little more or connect to it, but I think most of the hazardous waste stuff is part of the hazardous waste law, which is being amended right now. So, I think this is a public notice for that. But yeah. And,
Yeah.
We're making good progress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's okay.
We're kind
No,
of all
this
over
is gonna
in
be a mess
the
in the beginning.
discussion. Oh, yeah. Um. So I think we've kind of handled 6E and maybe into C. Is there anything other updates from like the Eagle side of part 115?
essentially, like I said, it's very messy over there right now, so. I've talked to different Eagle people and they all seem frustrated on different levels. So. And if I get anything too, I'll make sure I'll share that with everyone. I will say too, and just in general, we're probably a month ahead of a lot of MMPC's meeting. That subcommittee that I'm part of, they did a lot of, we did a lot of talking, and a lot of them are just now locking in their committee. And then they're planning to meet in September. Again, and this is knowing too, because they're part of the same conversation, so there is no guidance on work plan, but like we can start at least, and then the guidance of the state still wanting us to do something. So, so we're a little ahead in the fact that we're meeting now versus next month. So,
What triggered the 12/29 date? Is that from the state or was it from the time that the committee was formed?
notice of intent. So that's what drives everything from this point on. So the notice of intent was submitted July 2nd, which then you had until July 4th to submit it.
Really the state. Is
Yeah.
the short answer. Because
Yeah.
we've been filing things on time based on the state.
Yeah. Yeah. I know there's a few counties that have asked for extensions. Oh, and I did submit, I showed you a kind of a chart I sent to everyone. It's mostly a lot of counties are doing group plans. I think just barely over half, but I didn't have a chance to really look at like density, because I thought it'd be interesting to see what the population density is versus single versus multi, but I just did that with you guys. I saw that. And I thought that was interesting. That was part of an MLive article.
I did think that was interesting, but
Yeah.
it somewhat made sense. Not all
Yeah.
the-
With the
Some of
planning
the-
agency.
Yeah. I thought it was planning agencies, and then some of it, I think too, is that there's at least one county that's really strong with like material management stuff, whether they have a really strong MRF in that area or the county. I think some of them have a county MRF that's really strong in those areas, and but they're surrounded by smaller counties. So I think that kind of drove some of the things. So, but yes, Eagle sets deadlines based off of law. But the December one is by the notice of intent. You have 180 days to create a work plan, have this committee approve it, and then have Eagle approve it. So you probably need at least 2 months for Eagle to
Does
approve
the
it.
board of commissioners need to approve it somewhere in between there?
Not at this stage. So between the finalizing, yes. Yeah, before not the work plan though. They essentially by choosing you or trusting you to do the work plan. So,
Kim, did you have more that you wanted to talk about a budget for next year?
budget, don't think so. Essentially though, I don't plan to have any, I think we won't have any of the grant funding type stuff until fiscal year next year, so 25. So, cause I submitted my budget for my program. And that's going to the board. And, I do think whether this committee, chooses, this committee will have to be aware that we'll probably be looking at how to fund the program. During my program, the sustainability program, regardless, next year.
I
For
don't remember
funding.
what your fiscal year is.
I It starts October 1. And September 30th. And that goes with, Eagle does similar too. Which is it's sometimes hard as a municipality when you have the same, because they try to wrap things up at the same time that you're trying to start things, so they won't give you money until their next year, but then again, you need to know what they're gonna give you. But yeah, so that's essentially what I want to make sure you guys knew, that we wouldn't get any funding probably until probably true year 25, but either way, that in fiscal 25, we will be looking at trying to figure out the programming cost. So that's where like an ordinance, post agreements, that will be discussed. So you'll be hearing it, whether we choose to start looking at that or not, because we need to figure out our funding structure. Because we set up internally a structure to pay for something this way, that didn't work out, so now we're gonna have to figure out how we're gonna do that. So I just wanna make sure you guys were aware of that.
I think so. Then we have to item 6D. Some next steps discussion. I think some of these we've kind of talked around, but it was
Yeah.
specific
Mhm.
things in any of those items that you wanted to
Yeah.
have us brainstorm.
Yeah, well, just kind of, chew on it and
Mhm.
timing wise and all that kind of stuff. It's up in the air, but discuss, just create the, eventually we're gonna need the municipalities to be aware, and this isn't what I was talking about with data part, but just be aware that this is coming. So that they can start chewing on what do they think this plan should have at their level, or how much, how much they want to be involved with when we create the plan. So not necessarily it has to be done now type things, but just to get thoughts in your guys' head of, I want to make sure the municipalities are involved and aware, since they will eventually have to vote. And I think that we should make sure that they're aware and get their feedback in prior to the point where we do the first draft and it goes out to the municipalities.
I don't think it would hurt you to start developing a survey that would include all the information gathering and data that you think you're gonna need, and those sorts of questions, like who is the primary
Right.
contact? How involved do you wanna be? It
Mhm.
wouldn't hurt to start developing that, because you are gonna need that, like, for sure.
Mhm. Yeah, cause I have, created we do have cause I have to communicate, I had to send them the notice of intent. So I already need to know like who to contact and stuff like that. And we also had to request them to post the notice of intent on their websites. So, and I've done all those items. So I have where to send stuff and who, but essentially it's, when do we want? This is the question, is to what level do we want to send surveys out? Do we think that's the best method? And this is more of like a chew on it, or do we want to go to, which we've talked about before in the solid waste planning committee, do we want to go to like the Macatawa, like the municipality groups and talk there? So essentially, that kind of stuff. So that's what I want just to bring up and chew on, because the sooner we know essentially what they want, then we can make sure that those are part of, like I said, I get the high level, but eventually it's gonna boil down to what do our local people want, or you guys want.
How many municipalities are we talking?
I'm terrible at that. I wanna say it's about 30-ish. Yeah, I think it's around 30, because we have a few cities, yeah. Spring Lake was already I think Spring Lake is already in the effort, which they're trying to go into like the city of Holland kind of direction.
They've stolen everything that I had.
Yeah, I figured when I saw.
Or
them,
borrowed,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah. Yeah, so they were already like, let's come talk, and I'm like, oh, whoa, yeah, reel it back, I was just,
It almost seems like you put together a survey, sent it out to 30, you get
Mhm.
15 to respond, now you only have to go and talk to 15.
mhm,
Because you already got half of the work done, so just, that might
That's
be,
what I would do,
that's an
Mhm.
easier strategy.
yeah.
and just start getting them on the calendar, those conversations.
Mhm.
It's just, I guess from my perspective is the longer we sit and cogitate, should we do, or what we should do,
Yeah.
like, nothing is actually getting done.
Yeah,
Like, and we wanna make progress.
Yeah. yeah,
I have a strong bias towards just getting it done,
Yeah.
and if it's wrong and it has to be a do-over, so be it, let's just
Yeah.
get it done.
which is fine, yeah,
Like
yeah,
I said, throw it out there.
Yeah.
Send it back if it's wrong.
Yeah, so essentially that's what I'm trying to gather from you guys too, is what action items you want now. So I know, like, chat, GPT,
Hold on.
that part, running things through that, developing that part, yeah, it takes time, but I can do it. But, do I need to start doing these little things to start building? Like, so if you say you want a survey, well, then I have to figure out what kind of questions we need. Then I also have to go, my internal processes, anything that has to be surveyed has to go through certain people to create that survey. What survey platform do I want to work on? So that's what I'm trying to gather. What do you, so you guys are thinking, okay, survey's the way, so then I have to go
I
through.
sure
and-
think you need to
Yeah.
do a survey, and I also think that by the time you're done with asking ChatGPT to do everything
Mhm.
else, you can ask them to create the survey for you.
All right,
I really do think so.
Right.
And it'll get you 90% of the way there.
okay. Survey municipality. Put it on the list.
I mean,
That's what I'm trying to get from you guys too, is, my items are driven.
Leaning in.
Yeah,
Early on, so
yeah,
it's like, yeah, you've got some permission to
Yeah.
head in that direction.
yeah. But again, I just don't wanna do work that you guys don't think is needed right now either. So
I
if
think
you want
we
me to go, if you're
absolutely
gonna start
need to
turning
know.
this direction.
And we need to know who is gonna be engaged from the different townships
Yeah,
and
because you're gonna get some.
areas. Some people aren't gonna care and some people are gonna really care, and we should know that. And, because they can probably still be part of subcommittees, even if they're not on the main
Yeah.
committee, to
Yeah.
keep that engagement. State's gonna wanna see
Yeah.
that anyways.
And I forgot to mention this too, is the state's also really encouraging, so yes, there's the voting member, and it's this, you can already see that there are some members that are here as public. But they did say that they don't want it necessarily to be, they essentially want anyone that wants to be part of the conversation and that you're willing to be involved. Though they're not voting, they can still be part of the group, so, that was something I did forget to mention in the very beginning, that yes, that's, essentially too, we as the group, can decide how to have it, whether you want. All right, no, you have to wait till public, or no, be active in this conversation, be part of it. That's something that you guys probably should figure out too, because I'm sure the more we do this, the more you'll start getting people that they might be invested. Like you said, you have some municipalities that are like, yes, I want to be involved.
Well, we have different
yeah.
level of municipalities too, right? So you're talking
Yeah.
townships,
Mhm.
things along that. line.
So.
You're gonna need some help along that,
Mhm. Yeah, but that's what, and some of the things are like active, like I know Grand Haven has a very active sustainability group. They might like come to meetings. Do you want them to be active, or do you want them to wait till public comment? That's something that you guys will have to start kind of chewing on, of how do you want to handle if more people come.
Well, and I can help with the city's part of that, because a lot of them now, especially they're starting to sign up through the Green Communities Network and everything, so I'm, sitting with them on a regular basis now, so.
Yeah.
If you need help wrangling them,
Mhm.
I have a lot of their contacts. Or if not, I'd like to reach out to them anyway.
Yeah. And that's where we can start, if we start needing to send surveys out to places, we can start doing that kind of stuff too. But I guess for right now, I would think focus on city municipality survey and maybe go from there. Our direction. So. And then then number 2 of that is, so again, like, I guess thoughts or directions, or just leave it for now, is, again, so the materials management plan, historically, the solid waste has been just kind of on the shelf. It hasn't been a focus of this program. And I want to talk internally and the county too, of how we want to look at that is, so materials management planning now is going to have a lot of data, a lot of, things going on, especially for the next 3 years, as well as I also oversee our sites. So like, for example, I have contracts going out for repairing our sheds, and, I maintain our 6 sites, and we're power washing and all that kind of stuff. So I do that too. And so something to think about is, I know this is solely for materials management plan, but the activities here dictate what we do at the sites. So, structure is kind of one of the things, is do we, how do we see the sites collating with this going forward? Some of this, they do recycling, so I think there's some growth that will happen because of this. But so currently, so you guys are aware, it's me. I'm a supervisor. We have one tech, we have one full-time senior site attendant. And then I have 3 part-time staff that oversee the operations every day. The sites are always manned by at least one person, because it's becoming busier. This year, we had to go to a budget adjustment because we've seen, an increase in cost and materials coming in. So we have to deal with that kind of stuff. But so the sites are costing more. The people are trying to do the right thing. So how do we see the two essentially programs coming together kind of matter? And so, like I said, it's essentially me overseeing both of them. I'm thinking that we'll need to kind of separate them into 2 to keep things going. But just wanted to make sure, like, think of the sites. What do you think our sites should be in view? Because right now, technically, the focus is household hazardous waste.
That
That
is the
is-
correct job description.
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so do all of our positions as part of
And I
that.
think that's gonna, as we start getting into the weeds of the plan,
Yeah,
that's
I
what,
think we just,
and the structure will be flushed
Yeah.
out then.
Yeah,
and we can just ask ourselves, do these tasks fit under the current job description of
Yeah.
the current staff?
Mhm.
And start to make a list of where the gaps are and then decide
Yeah.
if there's any structure changes.
Yeah.
I don't disagree.
no, yeah,
This is a lot. So,
Yeah.
I acknowledge this is
Yeah.
a lot.
yeah. But yeah, because I just
Even if
noticed
it's
when,
a
yeah.
temporary basis, just while
Yeah.
the plan is getting organized then.
Yeah, I only asked that too, because if we want to start handling this mostly internally, and that's where the thought came in. So if we want to handle it mostly internally, so let's say have the less consultant based thing, what staff will we then have to hire and how will that lay out? So that's why,
Resources we can
yeah,
hire.
yeah, because I would think that we would need to be a tech to do a lot of, the help with the man hours essentially. So that's why the thought came of like, well, how do we want the
Just all the more
structure?
reason why we need to understand what the townships already have in place,
That's-
cities and municipalities need in place.
Yeah,
And I hate to even mention this, but the tipping fee potential legislation is gonna impact all of this pretty dramatically, one way or the other.
Mhm.
So something just to have on our radar.
yeah,
And from an existing plan, that part's gonna fall into
Yeah.
our laps.
A lot of conversations about it. It's not, there's not a lot of clarity.
Well, I'm just under the, until we get a new plan and everything up and running, you're still under the auspice of the other plan, correct? Correct. Kim. Yeah.
Mhm.
So,
There's no
Yeah.
mechanism to enforce the budget,
yeah,
so,
as we said.
but there is
No
no current plan,
Right.
right? So that's, if we do have a tipping fee change, that's when the current plan gets activated, I mean, we have to
So-
make decisions.
so to clarify too, the host agreements are technically separate from the plan. But in the plan, it clarifies that that is what will fund the plan too.
That's,
Yeah, so like if the host, let's say nothing changes, the host agreement, we just change the plan would have to say, we're funding through the host agreement. That's simple, but the contractual part is, like a separate part.
But this committee would be talking about even low with the host agreements at that point, correct? Because you brought
Yeah.
us together.
Yeah,
Okay. that's-
yeah, because it is the funding structure. So that's why I kind of mentioned, that's why it's important to understand what the municipalities have currently, because let's say you choose to say, okay, we don't want a host agreement, we want an ordinance. Or even, let's even think about the funding part, like, yeah, you get the haulers part, or so you don't want to. And for example, too, like Kent County, and this is where it gets all kind of confusing, again, in the weeds. Kent County has an ordinance for material that are coming in. So, and then we have a 2% tipping fee, so, and then if we choose to change agreements, a host agreement structure. Then it could play into what, essentially, like, I think we were into this pet knows they can get triple cost or something like that, so. And then if we have a municipality that has something, so that's where we'll have to eventually, but just kind of be aware the complicity of the funding structure part of it.
So, yeah. so
And the
to
state
simplify
wants you to
it,
fund
if
it.
The tipping fee does happen. This committee is gonna have to make a decision about that. About the tipping fee and how we're gonna manage it in the current plan that we have. Correct.
So, so essentially you're deciding the value of material management.
So we may have an additional
Mhm.
obligation on top of what we're already trying to do.
Like I said, that'll probably happen next year. So we need to figure out funding. So the corporate council is aware of it, so.
Like,
Yeah.
anything.
So that's essentially, I think, all the big things that I had.
Okay, any other like comments or questions for Kim before we kind of go to open discussion and any other items from the committee?
I will say, if I get into the weeds too much sometimes, you can say pause. Let's just erase that, and I do know I do get into it.
That's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Appreciate your work.
Yes. So if there isn't somebody in the weeds and living that, it's hard for the rest of us to understand what's going on.
Yeah.
So any general open discussion? Or? So as far as like this item 6F.
What's wrong with you?
I like this for people. I can see the
Yeah.
positive way.
Yeah.
We moved to like the grand.
There we go.
That's where you get everything.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They'll be done.
So, yeah, so item 6F, items from the committee, we can kind of just go around the room and if anybody has anything.
Mhm.
Whether it's just general updates that you think might be of interest to this group, I think that's what we can use this item for. Doesn't have to be directly related to materials management planning, but if it's like, again, you think it would be of interest to the group and relevant to, the work that we do. Welcome to share, so. Tom, we want to start this way, and if you have anything, or you can just pass on to the next person.
Pass on the carrier.
Okay.
I have anything really exciting.
Are there any community events where we would ever set up a table to say this is how we get rid of these items and manage these items, just to kind of create awareness? I know in downtown Zealand, we have all kinds of activity all summer long. Just try to answer the questions.
We recently we do that, but we recently did one for the Metro Cruising Grand Rapids, so like something that's sort of related to people who are generate metal or generate materials, but we're almost always willing to do that if you tell us what event you want us at, where we got like a booth that we'll set out.
And I know, Kimberly, you've got some like materials for your centers that have been at events that I've attended, so.
Yeah.
Like there are materials from the county.
How
that
to get rid of
could
your
be
car
provided.
battery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basic stuff.
Yeah, I've been going to, we've been going to Terrace Square, which, no, they're at Spring Lake right now, farmer's market. Terrace Square does a farmer's market on Wednesdays or Thursdays.
What's Terrace Square?
Terrace Square, Hudsonville's. It's hard to figure out where best to communicate, and so we chose farmers markets.
That has worked.
Yeah, and we've gotten an increase in that, and we've started to do more environmental health as well. But they tend to be mostly interested in my services that we provide at the sites, like car batteries and stuff like that. And we do direct them, like we'll get the weird, oh, hey, I have a refrigerator, and then we say Black River is the best place. And there's a church in Grand Haven does
That
it.
drives for Christmas or
Yeah.
holiday lights during the
Yeah.
holiday season. and
Yeah.
then, like groceries.
Put a table.
Yeah, so, I'm always welcome. I've done some school ones before, so, but yeah, farmers market's where we started. Again, like God knows, we go anywhere that they want. It's just
Huge.
hard.
We have.
They will not let
Oh,
nonprofits
there
go
are,
there.
there are lots of rules.
Yeah,
Lots of. rules.
yeah,
Lots of
yeah.
rules.
I even tried to get Dan to see if he can wiggle me in there. Nope.
No.
Even his connection said no.
Your best way is to do one of the kids' activities and then you
Yeah.
just sneak the adult education in.
Yes.
which is kind of what we try to do, like,
We do.
here's this flower pot planting
They're very
project, talk about
proud of the
composting.
farmers, so they're-
Yeah.
A lot of strict rules around it, and I get why they do it.
Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
but there are some that I am starting to help. Trying to get them to move them.
Yeah.
Doesn't go often. And if you bring your dog in there, it's not allowed, right? And they deploy a guy.
There is a guy,
Chases down that dog.
there is a guy.
I mean, he's on it, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm like, how far will this dog make it into the farmer's
Not
market?
far.
right?
yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
You know, that on Wednesday, I'd be curious.
Yeah, I'll just put this out there, but the parking lot across from our Holland or downtown Holland, you know, where our headquarters is, this barely ever has anybody in it anymore, like hardly ever. So if we ever wanted to do something in conjunction with when the farmer's market is, and maybe we could talk them into letting us do Wayfair signs, it's so close. I mean, it's
Mhm.
like, that would be a really easy, and it's got an in and out in that parking lot, so it's a nice space. I'm sure I could convince the powers that be to let you use the
Absolutely,
parking
we can
lot
help staff it, yeah,
if
absolutely.
we wanted to, like, it's so close to there.
But no, that's a good thing to kind of brainstorm. What are those community opportunities to, especially for public education? We do that all the time. We bring little like maps and
Mhm.
surveys out for people to do during events.
Yeah, it can be almost be fun, and this is just me thinking how I do is, yeah, maybe like one of the farmers market days, if Pat was gonna be willing, that maybe we can have like a little environmental sustainability, you know, like event, but essentially it's, yeah, the tables with those kind of people that wanna share their resources the same day.
We are having our open house at the landfill next week, so you're more than welcome, all of you are more than welcome to come and take a tour, but if you'd like to put something there, you can do that
At the,
at Ottawa County
Okay.
Farms. Yeah.
I mean, I love to get phone calls when you do stuff like that, cause I think you do like trash days or something too, and they're like, they call us about it. But it'd be interesting, cause we could have opened it, we could put our like, our
Everything's
signs out
free
there,
download, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Can I have an appetite?
Okay, yeah. we can do-
I don't have anything.
Nope.
I'm good.
Onto the
Just let us know if there's anything in between meetings, right? If you get us to the new stuff or ideas, good for each other.
Perfect.
We were awarded the $1 million grant for the infrastructure to build a recycling drop-off center for the city of Holland. No way, so our goal is to partner, Jim and I and Patness, and we're already starting to figure out how do we make this available to all residents in the county and everything, just because we got the grant. So very beginnings of planning, so we're gonna make this a what they call a super drop-off center. You can bring batteries, household batteries, mattresses, those type of things, along with education around how does recycling work and how does it, you know, impact everybody and how does it impact our community from a jobs perspective and those type of things.
That's verification.
We are leaning towards, we don't have a specific location, but Patton's has offered a location next to their Black River facility. There's got to be a boatload of planning. Nothing's been approved or anything else, but we see a really good opportunity to partner with Patton's along to really take the $1 million to the next level and make it a very robust educational as well as just a
That's on River.
that is off of Chicago Drive
Oh, okay.
over that way.
Yeah,
They have some.
on the north side.
Yep, they have some, and then if you don't know already, on the opposite side of that is our city dredge site. Where we take all the stuff, dredgings and things like that, so we're also taking a look at possibility for composting and those type of things that kind of incorporate into a sustainability center. Sustainability. Yeah, so we see a lot of opportunities with that, so very happy we were awarded. Yep.
Just make it a whole educational sustainability, like a real sustainability part. I don't know.
But I'll be asking a lot of you for some help as we go along through this process with that, so So be aware that, you know, we haven't been offered the actual contract yet for the grant, but we've been, they've already told us that we're getting it, so. I'll be tapping it all for.
I'm sure we'll eventually be looking for somebody to do the organics, so organic cycle would be welcome to entertain them.
There's-
Or any of the others that are out there.
Yeah, and ODC Network will be heavily involved in the educational side of things there, and we manage the Macatawa River Greenway, so we're excited about that,
Yeah.
that potential location there, yeah.
Yeah.
About. Is for that too.
Yeah, so to the time that the nature with recycling, sustainability, BPW is gonna come in from an energy perspective. So this is gonna be a full recycling or sustainability education usable center. So
Might even be able to get people to understand the difference between curbside and industrial recycling a little bit.
that's the goal.
Great visibility there. Outside, out of mind sometimes. It's.
Yeah.
Full view.
It is, yeah, exactly. Stay tuned.
One thing I will mention, there are several events over the next month or so, to remove managed materials from our lakes and streams. Cleanup events. So Joe's office received a grant. We have a grant through the Macatawa Area Coordinating Council to do, September 7, we're doing a Pigeon River cleanup. So if you'd like to come join us, we can put you in a kayak, you can pick up trash out of the river. And then the Macatawa cleanup is the 28th of September. Joe, yours is the 21st. And I think you're providing lunch to people. We don't do that, so.
T-shirt in.
We just provide snack
Do you get?
and t-shirts.
Great.
We'll have t-shirts too, yeah.
County's not paying.
So lots of opportunities, and I can send an email to the group that has those dates.
Yeah, because I'll send,
Yeah.
we do stuff like that, like we'll send a whole team to go do
Yeah,
that.
yep.
I want to make sure it's on our website.
Okay.
If you want to send it to the group email or send it to me and
Yeah,
send it to
I can
everyone.
just reply to the
Yeah, I should be able to reply
email
all.
for this meeting, yeah.
I try to do it so you can do that.
If you need any dumpsters too for cleanup stuff or getting rid of it, let me know. Sure we can help with that as well too.
And say I can probably help with tires. If you get any.
Yeah.
I know,
Yeah.
I know there's someone that.
We've
went
never-
to a conference tonight.
We haven't done the pigeon before, so I'm
Yeah.
not quite sure what we're gonna find there.
Yeah.
When we do in Macatawa, we just have it's at a park, the municipality takes care of the trash for us.
The drain cleanup is in a nice neighborhood, so, but it's really dirty. It's behind the holes, that's where I think we're gonna start as neighbor pools and then work our way.
Oh, that's a definite need right through there.
Yep, that's a definite need. And then goes all the way up. That drain goes kind of to the west of Windmill Island Mobile Home Park. The drain runs, and then there's a new housing development. If anybody drives by there and sees it, with Midwest is doing, but that drain runs right through there. And then all the way up to the Lowe's, that whole, what is that? Get all those buildings there, Felch Street, Felch, all the way up to Felch. There's a lot of garbage in there, because it blows out of the dumpsters behind that whole, commercial complex where Lowe's is and all the other ones. And it just feels that
All the stuff coming.
garbage.
Is D and W over there? Okay. We get some complaints about trash back there. And it was, I think it's D and W that does it.
D&W,
Yeah, is it, yeah, that area?
we've been back there cleaning. up
Okay,
already.
yeah.
Was that recent?
I don't think we've got any recent ones. I know since I've been with the county for 10 years, we've got like 3 or 4 lights back there.
We've had a couple issues too, and I know Kelly from where this, sites where there's some homeless camps that were set up and there's a lot of garbage that were in the, actually in the water.
Yeah.
Just because it flooded, picked all their stuff up, ended up down the street, but we've been in cleaning those up too, with some housing or the homeless housing camps. They kind of move. They'll go over here, then they go back, then they go back. There's a couple areas that they do roll. Whereas,
And we did that one last year, pretty large one.
Organicycle is part of the MRC's statewide compost tour. Our tour will be open to the public on the 19th. That way you guys can come and see how the sausage is made. If you can't make it that day, or if you know anyone, or if your organization wants a tour, private tour, by all means, reach out to me. I'm happy to show you what we're doing.
Is that September 19th?
Yeah.
I'll try to send out the link to that too.
Share that link out.
Yeah,
A lot of dates.
yeah.
Right, and we're up to your second opportunity for public comment. Yeah, anything else?
Not really. I mean, if I were to say anything, just listening to the group is Eagle, they definitely got their challenges. I deal with Eagle on so many different levels right now. And Lansing definitely is in a unique situation with a lot of bills and legislation right now. Part 31 is a big one for me, but and for others, it should be a big concern for the state of Michigan with the ruling from Part 31 and floodplain stuff. The other one is, I think it might be beneficial, and I don't know, I don't want to step in the code, but have an Eagle representative invited for some dialogue, because they could change everything you're working on, change it just like that.
Mhm,
And we don't want to waste a lot, I say we, but the group
Yeah.
doesn't want to waste a lot of time,
mhm,
because lame duck is going to be around the corner.
mhm.
There's a lot of politics. What's that?
It's gonna be an interesting one.
Yeah.
So I just wanna make sure that, you know, be aware that we have timelines, I say we, the group, but
Mhm,
also part 115 is challenging in itself. They don't even know what they want.
mhm.
It'd be good to get them on there and record it.
Yeah,
So then you don't
Yeah.
waste a lot of time or energy and money putting something together, and then it changes come December 29.
yeah,
Before the new legislators, if things flip, house flips, who knows what
Mhm.
happens, come lame duck. So I just want to be aware of that, because I'm dealing with Eagle on so many different levels. In Lansing, not so much local folks, but right to the top.
Everyone is counseling.
yeah.
That's very wise.
I
I
can
think that's
think
a
of,
great idea.
because I do know the planning people won't come to these meetings. I've already asked.
Correct.
But I can ask, Jeff Kerchak, he's from the recycling group.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he might be, he's and they've gotten some new staff too, but he's still our regional person, so I can see if he would be interested. He might be, and he used to do household hazardous waste, and he's done a lot of this kind of stuff too, so he might be interested.
And the reason I say that is not to put them on the hook, but
Yeah.
at least they can hear you
Mhm,
right from this group, you know, have that dialogue
yeah,
and communicate. And then talk about that grant sounds like a lot of money, but it can be eaten up very quickly by the requirements that are beyond the scope of what we could be talking
Mhm.
about today.
yeah. That or, yeah, if someone suggests something, he could be like, oh, yeah, that's really something that, yeah, you should focus on or something. Going to add that affirmation that we need.
Just so, maybe they won't show.
Yeah.
But they
At
have a
least
lot
we
of
said,
young
yeah.
staff and a lot of young
Mhm.
staff. A lot of
Mhm.
people are retired, a lot of people have left.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of them are confused on what to do just as much as we're trying to figure out, what do we do? I think they're confused as too. So I think we're all confused together. At least they know that we're not the only group, the only county,
Mm-hmm,
and especially if we're ahead of the game, right? If we're already ahead of everybody else.
mm-hmm,
We want to lead the charge.
Mhm.
Always good to be the front, because there's, you
mm-hmm.
know, you don't want to be the last one.
We can invite, Elegant and some.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So we can have.
Mhm.
Anyway, that's all I got. I don't want to take a lot more time to it.
Thanks, Joe.
Okay, anything else for the good of the order today? I don't think we usually do a motion to adjourn, we just stand adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. I think this was a great meeting. There is
Yeah.
some donuts, so if you're hungry on the road, take one.
Oh. Pretty good. Yeah. Drinks.
Kim, I didn't know that.
That's the thing. They were-
Hey, Kim?
Yeah.
I didn't know you had donuts there. I might have come for the trip.
Well, next time I'll make sure you know I brought donuts today. Yeah, the first one.
Yeah.
If you're all the way from Lansing down here for donuts, that'd be great.
Well, you know,
We read it.
to see you.
Yeah.
No, good meeting. Good first
Thank
meeting.
you. Thank you. I think so too. I appreciate that.
Anything, let me know.
Well, actually, you know what? I've been working with Lene, but since you're here, do you think you can keep an eye out today for I have a painting contract that went for ratification? I'm gonna
Which
send an
contract?
email. What?
Which contract?
It's gonna be for painting our household hazardous waste. Chris just submitted it today. We didn't know we needed a contract. So made one and it has everything. So, it is for, it'll say Emilio.
Yeah.
Here, to give you the exact name.
Yeah, just send me an email.
Yep, I was gonna send an email to you, Lene, John Anderson, and Joe Moss. Cause he's ready to go.
Okay.
Cause we didn't know we needed the contract, we hadn't had it historically, but, so I'm just trying to get it done. That's what my budget adjustment was for, was to do this. So I didn't know, so,
Well, I'll take a look at it, this afternoon.
thank you, yeah, I appreciate that. You should get the email this afternoon before that.
And one of the other things that we probably need to talk about is, okay, tipping fees. What are we doing
Yeah.
with these homes and waste
Yeah.
management, Republic?
Yeah.
'Cause, that thing has just been out there for.
We'll use your interest rates anyway, because they're cheaper.
Yeah.
Money costs to make it more money.
Yeah,
They'll take it.
I'll try to set up a meeting with you, Patty, Spencer, and Ida,
It's up there.
kind of see what we're thinking. Cause I know we'll have to figure it out next year. Aaron said we had to.
Well, I mean, the budget is all set, almost all set.
No, but so that we can start going forward, yeah, 'cause we're good for, budget wise for next year is good. It's just maybe with things going forward, it might not be.
Okay. Any clue as to what you're thinking?
And we're spraying some drains.
Or as part of 115?
Did you get notice?
If they roll in it, obviously, everything's gonna be.
I was thinking about that.
Yeah, that's where, yeah, I think the meeting will be helpful. Yeah, I can't necessarily say everything right now, so,
It's good.
No, I get you.
yeah,
We can talk later,
okay,
They're gonna be here.
but I'll take a look for the contract. Just send it to me via email and, okay.
Sounds good.
All right, Kim.
All right, well, I'll talk to you later.
All right, take care.
Yes.
You too, bye-bye.
Bye.
Even though it's like